Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's lesson is about how to exit a conversation gracefully. This is a question that came in from one of our subscribers. She says, I am really shy when it comes to speaking with people, and especially when I want to end the conversation with them. Can you help me out? So if you're really looking to polish your social skills, or maybe just need some help knowing when it is time to say goodbye, this is the video for you. Let's get started with the first point. Summarize and signal. You may not realize this, but conversations have a natural flow to them. There are certain stages that most conversations go through, whether you're aware of it or not, and each stage has its own unique purpose. So to make sure you know when it's appropriate to wrap up a conversation, let's take a look at those stages. The first stage of a conversation is called the opening. This is where you first meet someone and introduce yourselves to each other. You might ask where they're from or what brings them to wherever you are. And then, once you've learned a bit about each other, you move into the second stage of a conversation, which is the exploration stage. Here is where you ask follow-up questions to learn more about what your new friend said. Maybe you ask them why they like their hometown so much or what brought them to the party you rate both at. You might even share something about yourself here. It's all about building off of what the other person said. After the exploration stage comes the third stage of a conversation, which is the development stage. This is when you and your new friend talk about a wide variety of topics, sharing stories and opinions, and maybe even making some jokes. It is important to be an active listener here and pay attention to what your friend tells you so you can show interest and keep the conversation going. Next up is the fourth stage, which is the support stage. Here you actively listen to what your new friend says. Show empathy and offer advice if they ask for it. For example, if your friend shares some bad news with you, this would be the time to say, I'm so sorry to hear that, or that sounds really difficult. I'm here for you. Once you've listened to your friend and offered any support they needed, you can move on to the final stage of a conversation, which is the closing stage. This is when you wrap up the conversation and say goodbye. Now that you know the different stages of a conversation, let's take a look at how to properly close it. The key is to summarize what you talked about and signal that you'd like to end the conversation. A great way to do this is to start with a phrase like "It has been really nice talking to you today," followed by a quick summary of what you discussed. Then finish it off with "But it's been great getting to know you." This gives the other person a polite reason why you rate ending the conversation, while also summarizing what you talked about. Let's look at another example. It was so interesting hearing about your trip to Japan. I love sushi too, but it's been great getting to know you. See how that works? You simply summarize what you talked about and then politely end the conversation. Here are some other ways you can gracefully exit the conversation. It's been lovely chatting with you, but I need to catch up with mention someone else. It was great meeting you. Or I have to head over to mention a location, but I really enjoy our conversation. Thanks for the advice. By mentioning something you need to do or someone you need to talk to, you give a reason why you need to end the conversation without being rude. You can also end a conversation by thanking the person you were talking to. This is especially appropriate if they helped you or gave you advice. For example, thanks for listening to me vent. I feel better now. I'll see you later. By thanking the person, you show that you appreciate their time and effort in talking with you. Plus, it leaves a positive final impression. Alright, now that you know how to properly end a conversatio, let's look at some examples of phrases you can use. When ending a conversation with a friend, you can say, "Hey, it was really great catching up with you today, but I gotta run to my next meeting. Let's do this again soon." If you're ending a conversation with a colleague, you could say, "It was nice chatting with you about the project, but I have some more research to finish up. Let me know if you need anything else from me." Finally, if you're ending a conversation with someone you just met, try saying, "It was really lovely talking to you, but I want to introduce you to my friend over here. They're an expert on mentioned topic related to the person you're introducing them to. I think you two would have a lot to talk about." You can also add a little humor to your exit line. For example, if you were talking about food, you could say something like, "Well, I gotta run before I roll myself into a ball and explode. It was great seeing you." So those are some ways you can exit a conversation gracefully. Now let's look at some situations where you might want to practice these phrases. At a networking event, you meet someone who works in your dream company. You chat for a while, but eventually you need to wrap up the conversation. How can you do that gracefully? What if you're at a party and you meet someone who tells you they love the same TV show you do? You end up talking for hours, but it's time to say goodbye. How should you do it? Or maybe you ray at a coffee shop and you strike up a conversation with the barista because you just got your morning caffeine fix. But after a few minutes, you remember you have a Zoom call to join. How do you excuse yourself from the conversation politely? No matter what situation you find yourself in, there's always a graceful way to end a conversation. With these phrases and techniques, you'll be able to wrap up any chat in no time. So don't worry about being stuck in an endless small talk loop. Just use these tips to make your exits as smooth as butter. We've come to the end of another fantastic lesson here on English for Professionals. I hope you learned something new and can use it next time you ray having a conversation in English. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button and leave us a comment below. We'd love to hear what you thought of the lesson and what you might want to learn about next. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on future lessons. Thanks for joining us today. Keep practicing your English, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.